I'm back. It seems like so is Omicron. Well, not Omicron's not back, but COVID is back with a fierce vengeance. Hello, guys, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Esteban, my channel, where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors, as well as some NBA. And today will be a video where there's a combination of the NBA and the Raptors. So it seems like Omicron is taking over all sports, which is NBA, NFL, as well as the NHL. And I do basketball. So without further ado, let's talk COVID, NBA, and the Raptors. So, basically about a month ago, everybody discovered Omicron, became, the main strain of COVID in the world, and it's becoming more contagious to everybody and everything like that. And it started with kind of like, I would say the biggest hit was Chicago Bulls when two of the games for them were postponed because everybody was in the COVID protocol. And the way COVID protocols work is basically, it's either you have it, either you came in contact with somebody that has it, or even like an indirect type of call, like you came in contact with somebody who came in contact with somebody that had COVID. So you end up in the COVID protocol pretty quickly. And let me start off by saying this: the NBA has been, one of the primary associations that has done a good job in trying to manage it. But I have three issues with them. Number one, it seems like after having success in the bubble, after having success without fans, the NBA let their greed take over. Now, I understand there's numbers associated with it. You don't want to risk the business too much, and you want that revenue coming in with fans coming in. But you got to understand, if the fans in the situation in US where people are masking, their vaccination numbers are really low compared to Canada. It seems like you're risking a lot. And that's what in NBA exactly did. They not only put the season at risk, but they put the players at risk of catching COVID, because if you saw the games, hardly anybody was wearing a mask in the crowd. You don't know if the US is doing the same thing that the Scotiabank Arena was doing, that you have to have a vaccinations certificate, or I think Scotia was also allowing in like a certain section where you can have you can be not vaccinated, but you would have to provide a negative test prior to attending the game. But again, people were supposed to be following COVID protocol, and wasn't happening anywhere in the NBA, and the NBA did not choose to step in until it was too late, right? They kept putting people in, one player in COVID protocol, the other player in COVID protocol, and finally it just hit the fan, where Chicago Bulls 2 games had to be postponed. Brooklyn Nets, almost 8 players were in COVID protocol. And now the Raptors Orlando Magic had to have their game postponed with the Raptors because Orlando Magic had a breakout in their facility. And now it seems like the Raptors have a lot of people in COVID protocol. So I think that the NBA really dropped their ball on this one. They prioritized revenue, and it resulted in, stars not being able to play because they ended up in COVID protocol. And the people who pay for their ticket to come there, yes, you got your money for them paying to come to the game, but again, they didn't enjoy it, and they're likely not going to come back in this season. And same thing with TV. I want to turn off my TV if Steph Curry is not playing, if Draymond Green is not playing, or if we're playing the Chicago Bulls, Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, these guys are not playing. There's no point in watching that game, man. So you're losing that revenue just because you let your greed take over. And the NBA has done a shit job since then. And they're still, not stopping or reducing the amount of people coming into the arena, or, being more enforcing of COVID protocols like masking and distancing and stuff like that. Whereas the Raptors are taking a step where the government in Canada is like, no, 50% capacity. And if that is still, too much, we're going to cut it down to 0. We don't care. And this is where I have the second problem with the NBA, right? And it leads into my whole thing with the Raptors. So it seems like the NBA tends to prioritize teams trying to save their games that they think they're going to get more revenue for. So, for example, the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron ended up in the COVID protocol for 2 days and ended up coming back out, right? Russell Westbrook was in direct contact with somebody. He ended up in the COVID protocol, but then came back out. Whereas teams like the Brooklyn Nets, now I know New York is a big market, but Brooklyn Nets is not the same as the Knicks, right? Knicks are shit, but they still have a bigger fan base than the Brooklyn Nets. And same thing with the Raptors. They are being forced to play games when they don't have enough players. Brooklyn Nets played us with like I think it was 8 players out. Now the Raptors have I think about 6 to 7 players out, and they're being forced to play the number 1 seed in Chicago. How the hell is that fair? When teams like Chicago had their game postponed just because it's a bigger market, because you knew you would get more revenue by rescheduling those games, fans coming to the game to watch it, or even on TV. It's clear that there is a pecking order in the NBA when it comes to COVID protocols. And we are at the bottom of that damn ladder. And we have been since last year. Because this is where I get into what the hell is really pissing me off. So the Raptors last year were forced to play games when they didn't have their coaching staff, when they had, I think, about 6 to 7 players that were out, and they were still forced to play the game. And at that point, we were still teetering on, not making it to the playoff, or at least the play-in. And they forced us to play. Same thing is about to happen to us this week, because Pascal was out on Saturday against Golden State. So was Delano Banton. Now, Gary Trent went out yesterday in COVID protocol. And now today is Freddie Van Vliet as well as Malachi Flynn. So we don't have a ball handler. So now the league decided not to postpone our games. Now people are thinking that we got our game postponed against Orlando Magic because there was a breakout in, for the Raptors. No, that game was postponed because the Magic had a breakout, not because the Raptors had one. But when it came to, they basically rescheduled it because they know even with a shitty Orlando Magic team, people are still going to watch that game on their national TV and they're going to make that revenue, right? Whereas for the Raptors, it doesn't matter, right? Because the Raptors revenue, TV revenue, fan revenue does not count as much in the NBA's books as other teams do that are in the US. So the Raptors are getting a short end of the stick again, man. We are having to play Chicago Bulls with, all of our ball handlers out, signing 4 to 5 players who are going to be on 10-day contracts to try to get, something done. And we're playing 2 of the major teams in the East, which is Chicago Bulls. Again, if we beat them, we change the standings for us, right? And then Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't know how the hell they're doing so good this season, but if we beat them, we change the standing. It's very important that the Raptors have full rosters for teams when they've played them in the East End because it shifts the standing. But the Raptors are, again, being bullshitted in just like they did last year and having to play with players either from the G League or either from signing 10-day contracts and all of that crap. I can guarantee you, if LeBron, Westbrook were both in COVID protocols at the same time, the Lakers' whole season would be put on hold until they can come back. Why? Revenue. Whereas for the Raptors, it doesn't matter. Whereas for a small market like Brooklyn Nets, I'm not saying New York again, Brooklyn Nets, same thing. If it was Minnesota, same thing would happen to them. That is my issue. The Raptors are again getting a short end of the stick, and guys, we just bad luck with this at the same time. Every time we get people back, something happens and we end up, it's either injury or either it's COVID. And we just can't seem to catch a break. Every time we get inch close to getting to the playoffs, to play in or whatever, something happens. And I find at this time, it's nothing to do with, natural things happening. It is the NBA. The NBA can very easily postpone our games just like they did for Chicago Bulls, just like they would do for the Lakers, and just like they did for Orlando Magic or any of the other big markets. But they're not going to do it. They are not going to do it. And this is really annoying because every time the Raptors seem like they're about to get, something going, something fucks us over. And it's just disappointing. So, guys, that's what I had, that's what my opinion was about the whole COVID issues going on in the NBA. And I hope everybody's, either vaccinated or at least following the COVID protocols that are, in place, and everybody stays safe. So tomorrow's game against Chicago Bull, again, I'm hoping we have a Christmas miracle and win that game, but I wouldn't put my bet on it because we're playing with 4 players who are in the G League or weren't even in the league. So that's all I have for you guys for this video. Please hit that like and subscribe to the channel if you guys enjoyed the content, and I will see you post game for after Chicago Bulls.